All right, ready to dive into the world of supplements. Are they miracle cures or just hype? Today, we're looking at this article by Dr. Bill Wilson, and he's got some pretty strong opinions about how mainstream medicine views supplements.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't.
It's interesting how he ties this lack of research to the financial side of things, like, Big Pharma.
We're told to trust science, but there's not enough science on supplements because it's not profitable.
That's his big issue, yeah.
Yeah,
He thinks some supplements are definitely questionable,
sure.
but the potential benefits of basic vitamins and minerals are being dismissed way too quickly.
Okay, so which supplements is he actually a fan of? Like, what's he saying people should consider?
Well, he starts by saying, a good diet is important.
Right, of course.
Ideally, we get everything from food.
Yeah.
But he says, these days, our soil is depleted. Produce isn't as nutrient-rich as it used to be.
So even if we're eating our fruits and veggies, we might still be missing things.
That's what he's saying.
Interesting.
And that's where he sees a multivitamin as a sort of safety net.
Okay.
Especially for vitamin D.
Right, especially if you don't live somewhere sunny.
Exactly.
He also mentions these polyphenols. What are those?
Polyphenols. They're powerful antioxidants
Okay.
found in plants, fruits, veggies, berries.
Gotcha.
They're getting a lot of attention for their role in, protecting against chronic diseases.
He even mentions Barry Sears, like the Zone Diet guy,
Yeah.
as a big supporter of these polyphenols.
Yeah. So it's not just some fringe idea.
Right, right.
But let's talk about omega-3s. This is where he really gets fired up.
Oh, yeah. He does not like that study that said fish oil wasn't helpful for heart health.
Right, the one that looked at 1 to 2 grams a day.
Yeah.
He says that dosage is basically useless.
So how much does he think people need?
Get ready for this. He suggests 10 to 12 grams daily.
Whoa, okay, that's a lot.
He says that's what it takes to get a healthy balance of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids.
Wait, break that down for me. What is this ratio and why should we care?
It's called the AAEPA ratio.
Okay.
Basically, it measures the balance between two types of fatty acids. One is pro-inflammatory, the other is anti-inflammatory. And he thinks, a lot of researchers think keeping that ratio healthy is key for reducing chronic inflammation.
Right, which is linked to so many health problems.
Exactly.
So omega-3s are like the good guys fighting inflammation in our bodies.
Yeah.
And here's a fun fact.
Okay.
The Japanese population, they naturally have a good AAEPA ratio.
Really?
Yeah, because of their traditional diet.
So their diet is actually giving them like a cellular advantage.
Seems that way.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the American diet,
Creates a totally skewed ratio, more inflammation.
makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered multivitamins, polyphenols, a whole lot of omega-3s. What else does Dr. Wilson recommend?
Next up is vitamin K, but not the one you might think of. Everybody knows about vitamin K and blood thinners.
Right.
He thinks that's kind of obvious, though.
So what's the missing piece?
Vitamin K2.
Yeah.
It's important for bones and heart health.
So there's the K1 we get from greens.
Right.
And then this more specialized K2.
Exactly.
What does K2 do specifically?
It helps direct calcium to the right places, into
Ah.
bones, not arteries.
Like a calcium traffic cop.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, this next one, you might not have heard of it.
Okay.
Homocysteine.
Homocysteine. Okay.
Think of it as trouble.
Oh,
High levels are linked to heart disease and brain issues.
that's a bad combo.
Yeah, and this one's personal for Dr. Wilson.
Oh.
High homocysteine runs in his family, along with Alzheimer's.
Oh, wow. So what does he do about it?
He takes specific B vitamins.
To lower his homocysteine.
Yep. We got to think about this some more.
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, before we get too deep into that, though, we need to pause here.
We'll be back soon to dive into Dr. Wilson's even bolder claims, including his CARB syndrome theory and his critique of the healthcare system, so stay tuned.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. So before the break, we were getting into some pretty interesting stuff with Dr. Wilson and his take on supplements.
He seems to think supplements could help with a lot of health problems, even the ones we usually go to doctors for.
That's right, and it all goes back to this idea he has about, CARB stands for carbohydrate-associated reversible brain syndrome.
Okay.
It's his theory that basically eating too many processed carbs messes with your brain. And that can lead to all sorts of problems.
So like mood issues, metabolic stuff, all that could be traced back to processed foods.
That's what he's saying.
That's a pretty big claim.
It is, but he takes it even further.
Okay, how so?
He says all these supplements we've been talking about, the multivitamins, the omega-3s, vitamin K2, even the B vitamins for homocysteine, they're all part of how he treats CARB syndrome.
So he doesn't just see supplements as a general health thing. He's using them to target this specific condition.
Exactly, and this goes back to his critique of mainstream medicine.
Right, he's not a big fan of how things are done now.
No, he thinks doctors focus too much on treating symptoms with drugs.
Instead of addressing the root cause.
Yeah, which he thinks is often diet and lifestyle.
He even says in the article, and I quote, "We're so busy putting out fires with drugs that we're ignoring the inferno raging in the kitchen."
That's a good one.
Yeah, pretty powerful analogy.
He's saying medications might help for a little bit.
But they don't fix the underlying problem.
Right.
And he specifically calls out overprescribing of certain meds.
Yeah, like opioids.
Statins, psychiatric drugs.
He thinks the risks might outweigh the benefits.
That's definitely going to ruffle some feathers.
Probably.
But it's an important question, right? Are we too quick to prescribe pills?
Yeah. Are we overlooking lifestyle changes?
Or, like Dr. Wilson says, supplements?
These are things we need to talk about more.
For sure. It's not about just agreeing or disagreeing with him.
Right.
It's about having a more open conversation about healthcare. So is Dr. Wilson a visionary?
Or is he just way out there?
I guess that's the big question, isn't it?
It is, and we don't have all the answers.
Well, of course not.
But there are some key takeaways from his work.
Yeah, like what?
Well, he's definitely right about the importance of a good diet.
Can't argue with that.
Even if you don't follow his whole supplement plan, eating healthy is crucial.
Absolutely.
He also makes a good point about the AAEPA ratio.
Right, that balance of fatty acid.
Important for managing inflammation.
Yep.
And he introduces some things people might not know about, like vitamin K2.
And that homocysteine thing.
Yeah, things that could be really important for long-term health.
But maybe his biggest point is we need to think more critically about our healthcare choices.
Be informed.
Ask questions.
Don't just take things at face value.
Be an active participant in your own health, basically. That's a good way to put it.
That's what this show is all about, helping people understand these complex topics.
So they can make good decisions.
Exactly. You know, listening to Dr. Wilson, it's obvious he sees supplements as just one part of the whole health picture.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He keeps saying they're not some magic solution. You can't just pop a pill and expect everything to be perfect if the rest of your life is a mess.
Exactly. It's about taking a proactive approach, I guess.
Being informed.
Yeah.
So, for our listeners, what's the takeaway here? How can they use this info?
Well, I think it's a good reminder to be critical
Of what you see and hear.
Yeah, about health information.
There's so much out there.
From the media, from companies trying to sell you stuff.
Your friends, your family.
You got to learn to filter it all.
Figure out what's actually true and what's right for you.
It's like Dr. Wilson is saying, don't just take my word for it.
Right.
Do your own research.
Ask questions.
Don't be afraid to challenge what you hear.
And especially with supplements, I mean...
It's like a jungle out there.
It really is.
So many products making crazy promises.
Yeah, the miracle cures and all that.
Be careful. Be skeptical.
Definitely.
Look for brands you trust.
Do your research.
And talk to your doctor.
Always a good idea.
Especially if you have other health issues.
Or you're taking other medications.
Because at the end of the day,
yeah,
you're in charge of your own health.
You are the CEO.
Love that.
You have the power to make good choices.
To take care of yourself.
And being informed is a big part of that.
So, we've covered a lot with Dr. Wilson.
A lot of interesting ideas.
Hope you learned something new.